Right, just before we crack on with this episode, just a quick word about our sponsor, KS Civils and Groundworks Limited, based in Leeds. They have over 296 years of combined experience in civil engineering and groundworks. Led by Director Carl Smith, their team is known for honesty, reliability and commitment to the highest safety and quality standards. They're proudly ISO accredited and fully CHAS Elite accredited. No matter the size of your project, KS Civils and Groundworks delivers professional, trustworthy service you can rely on. To learn more, visit kscivilsandgroundworks.co.uk. Now let's dive back into this episode. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight I'm talking to Clarence Heal. Now, Clarence served in the infantry for 24 years. He's also a published author and a poet. Welcome to the podcast, Clarence.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, good to be here.
No, I say to everybody who comes on, if he didn't volunteer to do it, I'd be a bit sad talking to myself on here. So yeah, thanks. It's the same questions I'm going to ask you that I ask everybody else. Where did you grow up? Why did you join the military? What was it like? Why did you leave? And what have you done since? So if we just want to start on where you grew up and what made you want to and then join the military, just to give us a bit of a background about you.
Yeah. I grew up in Bristol on the outskirts, Pilning, Severn Beach. I was adopted and stuff. Had a bit of a rough time at school because there's only 2 black kids in the school, so I got a bit of grief and stuff. And then about 14, joined the Army Cadets, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. And in them days, all our instructors were either ex-Gloucesters, Green Jackets, or ex-police or firemen. And for me, it was two days a week away from it all. I loved the Army Cadets. And then the nickname was the Hitler Youth because then we were sort of guided then into the regiment, into the Gloucesters.
So growing up in Bristol, I don't really know Bristol that well, but you said you were the only 2 black kids in the school. How rough was that?
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, you used to get a lot of grief. It was 1980s and that. I was always a little bit on the small side, and sometimes I couldn't keep my mouth shut. But yeah, it was just unfortunately in the early 80s that was the way it was. You know what I mean? I'm not condoning bullying or anything like that, but yeah, it was just pretty tough. I was always considering myself a little bit of an outsider and stuff, and I used to knock about with the 2 Macaulay brothers, Ian and Neil. We're still mates now because their dad was Scottish. They used to get grief as well, but it was just one of them things. I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking my adopted parents because it's just the normal. It's life, isn't it?
Yeah, I grew up in the same time period, and I think it was just accepted. And now call it racism, bullying, or whatever. But back then it was just normal.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been. Well, yeah. Well, you just had to get a thick skin and just keep your head down and try and avoid the bullies and all that. And when you did fight back, you were always outnumbered and stuff. So, but no, then I joined the Army Cadets, and I thought it was brilliant because when I joined the Cadets, mate, everyone was equal, and I still keep in touch with some of the guys like Steve Scott. He got about 70 plus now, and it sort of took us young'uns under the wing and all that. And I thought it was brilliant. I really did enjoy my time in the Cadets.
So that obviously then led you want to join the military.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a natural thing because I was badged to Gloucester, and Sean Pepper was the Gloucester sergeant in the recruiting office. In them days, it was if you're a black fella, you either went in the Gloucesters or the Green Jackets. They had a guards guy in there, but in them days you didn't go anywhere near the wooden tops, no chance. And then I was quite lucky because when I passed out of Litchfield, went to battalion. Battalion was in Belize. I was on the rear party, and when they came back, Sean Pepper was me colour man. So yeah, so it was I went the full circle.
So what was it like turning up for training then?
Oh, it was, to be honest with you, because the bit of advice I was given from Pep and stuff, and a couple of guys that I knew, so just don't mention you've been in the Army Cadets, just keep your mouth shut and just do what you're told. And because I went to Litchfield, it was a Depot Prince of Wales division. It was Gloucester's, Royal Hampshire's, Duke of Edinburgh's, Woofers, Cheshire's, Stafford's, Royal Welsh, RWF, and RRW. So it was a big mixed batch, our platoon, but it was good because I was our platoon was top here with the Cheshires. One of my best mates is still. We've been training together. There's 2 Cheshire lads, Arthur Daly and Molly, and we went and trained together. And me and Arthur we all kept bumping each other over 24 years in the army. Molly done about 5 or 6 years. Was Arthur Daly like me? Done the full 20, 22, 24. So yeah. It was, and the good thing about training, especially at Litchfield in them days, Depot Prince of Wales, is everyone's in the same boat. You're all equal. There's no pecking order.
Yeah, were you prepared for training? Obviously,
physically, physically, but not physically. I trained and everything, but not mentally. I was still a man-child, 18 or 19. I was a man-child. Mentally, I wasn't prepared for it.
Did you find that tough?
Yeah. Mentally, some of it was tough and that. Yeah, so yeah, you just had to get on with it. But the good thing about our platoon sergeant was Guy Gifford from the Royal Regiment of Wales, and he was fair. He was fair, and we had some really good section commanders as well. Ted Mason from the Cheshires. I wasn't in his section, but he was a good fella. And so in them, it was like, yeah. So to be honest with you, Depot was just the trick was just get it done. Do it, get it done. Don't get back squatting. Just get it done and dusted and join battalion.
So I mean, turning up with your battalion then. I mean, a lot of people do say, you know, they've said it on here, that it was just as daunting, you know, going to battalion as it was turning up with training.
But yeah, I can remember because there's me and there's a few Gloucesters and we joined. It was like me and Ben Reed joined. We went to battalion together. We were in Army Cadets together. Another guy, Stan Alderman, unfortunately he's passed away now. And so we rocked up there, and Moggy Morgan. We sort of rocked up. The battalion was in Belize on a 6-monther, and because they were due back in about a month, that was it. We got put on rear party. You're not going to Belize, lads. Unlucky. And I was lucky because they put you at the back of HQ company accommodation, like you're a new blokes, mate. No one to speak to you. But we were lucky because one of the guys, there was an old corporal from the Royal Regiment of Wales. They'd gone to Hong Kong, and Wilf was in charge. Like, he was down the QMs and that, the rear party. But he was like our dad because he sort of showed us our bed spaces, and this is where you read orders. This is what you do. And he was a good old boy. He was like he'd been in the army like 20 odd years. He was like, to us, he was God. And because he was getting out, he wasn't going to go to Hong Kong for his last 6 months. He was attached to the Gloucesters, and he sort of looked after us and showed us the ropes. And there's another guy, Staunch Mulholland, who I'm mates with Staunch now. He came back because he was signal platoon. He come back from Belize early to sort out to do all the accounts and stuff. And he sort of took me under his wing, took us out for a couple of runs and that. And then he basically would get on guard and stay on guard. And that was it. So by the time the battalion got back, we've been on rear party for 3 or 4 weeks. Then the battalion come back from Belize, but because we'd been in battalion and we'd been looked after by the old and bold, it was like you got left alone a little bit because. Yeah. In them days, the cookhouse was a rite of passage. Like, you walked to the cookhouse as a crow, you sat right at the back. But because I've been on rear party, like with some of the old corporals or getting out on opposition change or that, when they've been in the army, like as they called us over that table, like, who's this crow sitting with all the old boys and that? So it made life a little bit easier.
You know what I found? I mean, I joined 85. And got out with Germany to my regiment in 86. And I mean, I was quite young, 17-year-old. And I just, you looked at the old bombardiers, corporals and stuff like that. And they all just seemed so old. They all looked really, really old. I felt fucking out of place with them. But there was a lot of good guys. It was like the same thing. There was a lot of good guys who were coming to the end of their term. Like 22-year full screws, Lance Jacks even. And they were a good bunch. It was some of the other people that could be a bit.
Yeah, we had. Yeah, it's just because when they come back, I was like 5 platoon B company, like, and we had Chim's top fella called, and we had terrible Tone Watkins. He was our platoon sergeant, another good fella. Like, we called him Cyborg. He was that fit and stuff. But there's a couple of guys in the platoon. They've been in the army about a year younger than me, a year longer than me, and some of them were bullies, and they just thought they were something special. You know what I mean? And when I look back, I think like, you're a shit soldier, mate, and you were a knob. But but then because you're 18, 19, you don't know anything. You just as a new bloke, you just keep your mouth shut and do what you're told. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you suss out. You got it's a couple of these guys. I'm not going to name names. I just thought, mate, you're a fucking shit soldier. You know what I mean? And you're a bit of a knob, you know what I mean? But because you're a new bloke, you just keep your mouth shut and do what you're told, you know what I mean?
I mean, there's all that thing, the frog, the crow. And at that point, you're just waiting for the next intake to come in. So
exactly. Take the pressure off.
Don't.
Yeah.
There's lots of talk about bullying, especially in the 80s in the army. I didn't really see any of it.
Yeah.
It happened.
Yeah.
I heard of it happening in regiments quite badly.
There's a little bit of bullying. Like, a couple of guys tried it on with me, but then I was lucky because we had one of our Lance Jacks in 4 platoon, Jerry Deaton from the Forest Team, is a good bloke. And we were in American exercise, mate. And I got bullied, mate. And I was like, some guy nicked me Mackie D's and that, give me a dig and all that. And then Jerry, as soon as Jerry heard about it, it stopped there and then. Like, he's not having it, you know what I mean? Because that was when the army was changing. But yeah, it was only, some of the bullies, there wasn't many in the Gloucesters, but it was just like, they weren't very, very good soldiers, mate. And it was all image and all that. And, I'm feeling like, you're not an hard man, but, but then as soon as it got stamped out, because we had some really good NCOs that kept a lid on it all and dealt with the bullies there in their own particular way of dealing with justice.
Yeah. Which we should bring back, that, to be honest. It's a very different army nowadays to what we...
Yeah,
very,
it's like,
very different.
When I got promoted and stuff like that, my thing was as well, you look after the young lads. So I can remember being scared as a crow and that. And so I used to walk. When I got promoted and stuff, because I messed about and didn't get promoted till late. I didn't do my NCO's card until I was 30. I was in ruin. But so I used to walk the lines and that when I was in C Company and that, just look after the blokes, because I can always remember like old Will looking after me when I was like, a 19-year-old crow, don't know my ass from my elbow. And I can remember my first Northern Ireland tour. We were lucky because it was an emergency tour. It was like, and we were undermanned. I had Skin Roger. I had a sergeant major, a team commander, and he's a top fella. Showed me all the Northern Ireland tricks and all that, and I learned so much from that guy. And because he was a sergeant major as a team commander, you just got left alone. You know what I mean?
So what was that like then, your first tour?
Oh, we'd done a Mercy tour Christmas 1991. So we joined battalion, come back from Belize, and we'd done exercise in Germany, and then we went to America, went to Fort Lewis on exercise trumpet dance. Absolutely brilliant. I'd never been out. I'd never been out of the UK. I thought it was brilliant. Like they've done parts of the US Ranger course. That was brilliant. And then we did a Mercy tour, and I got to admit it was quite daunting. And I was B company, and we were in Portadown. But it was an experience because and I really enjoyed the training. Like you go to live and do all the ranges, especially like you do all the shoots in the forts and stuff. And you do the raw package and stuff. It was good, but I got to admit, I ain't lying to you, mate. I remember my first patrol in the Kilwaukie Housing Estate in Lurgan. I was shitting myself. I was point man as well. Like I can remember, like I had a crow cannon, I had the old LSW with the old star, old heavy CWS on the front, and that was it. Skin and good. Your point man clap. I was like, oh. So to do all the fence mong and all that sort of stuff. And I can remember once I got separated because the clag came in. So we're going across a GAA pitch. I looked round. There's no bloke behind me, and I thought, I absolutely shit myself. I thought, what's going on? Then your mind start playing games with this. So I ran across, found some cover, put the legs on me, get LSW down, made ready, and I'm thinking like I could hear all this like mind going overtime. Then all I could hear then Skin coming out of the darkness and coming to find me. Like, and he goes, "Right, you done exactly the right thing."
Something similar happened to me. Not on the first patrol run, but on a patrol. We were doing a VCP in Lisbon, and I was on the edge. I had the cow traps with us and everything like that. And I did a naughty thing because where we'd stopped, there was a garage opposite us, like a petrol garage. And I thought the lads could do with a drink, so I nipped in quickly to get some cans of pop and stuff like that. And as I was stood in the queue, this lass come running in the not running, but came into the garage and said, "Are you Frankie?" And I was like, "What the fuck? How does she know my name?" I was like, "What?" She goes, "There's a bloke shouting your name out there." I was like, "Shit!" So I paid for the pop and ran out. And it was my brick commander. He'd called us in, and I wasn't there. So he'd come running over, and all he'd seen was the cow trap still on the floor. I mean, I shouldn't have with us. But the bush where I was all pushed in because I fell into it when I kneeled down, and he thought I'd been dragged off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a bit of discipline for that. Do you know what I mean?
They went to Morton one of the base, and they the Elf Center instead. So we had to go and do the cordon and stuff. And I can remember, mate, I was only a young lad like that. Fluff Joe was my best mate now. He was a land shack, and he was like, there's all this. It's all been Morton. We've been Morton, like, so a bit of destruction and stuff, and it's all been cordoned off. Of course, all the phone lines were still working. So Dave Ashford, the sergeant major's like, right, everyone phone home because all the phones are working and stuff. And then because it's like we got free reign, and then and people. Blokes were taking the piss a little bit, and the sergeant major got a little bit upset when there's Christmas trees pointing coming up from the top of the back of to the top of the Land Rovers and stuff like. But it was my first tour. Like, it's a Mercy tour. I didn't even get a medal for it. I think we were there like 26 days or something. But for me, it was an experience. Like, and you got a little bit of street cred. I was only 19, but at least you've done something. You know what I mean?
I think it helps, like you said, street cred. It helps, like, back in the battalion, back in the regiment. You've got that under your belt, really, and that does kind of help. I mean, what was next for you after that then? I mean, you mentioned, going out.
Gloucester's, and then I went to Mortars. I'd done a couple of courses. I was always into the med stuff. So, and Des O'Connor, he was a med corporal, and he ended up as a med sergeant. He got me into it because he was a top fella. We had some really good medics. We had Des O'Connor, Beef Welsh, John Whitby, Lee Rowe, all good guys, and Scobie Allen. And it was like, I got into the med stuff, so I'd done my team medics course and stuff. I'd done my assault pioneer course with Alan Morgan. He was a crazy guy from Bristol. He was from one of the hardest neighbours in Bristol, like Noah West, like. He's like, a 3/4 full sandbag's a full sandbag, like. But yeah, he was a good fella. And then we done it, and then we were a 24-hour mobile brigade, so it was like it was wait, fly, dig, and die, always on it. Yeah. That was it. We got quite good at digging trenches. And it was just done. What did we do? Done some overseas exercises, and then Bosnia. Then we went Saxon, Michael Jackson's, the old Saxon battalion. But because I was naughty, I went to Mortars. After a year and a half because our company commander Goofy. Let's just say I didn't like he was not. He was about as proper as a rattlesnake and a lucky dip. And so they got rid of all the problem children. Went to Mortars, and I'm telling you now, Frankie. Is every mortar platoon's the same. Now, it was unheard of because I was only like 19, 20. Anyway, I got posted. There's me and a guy called Ricey, another kind of guy, Pete Gage. We went to Mortars from B Company, and Mortar Platoon was the naughty boys platoon. It was like there were some characters in there, and there was some like scary people as well. But I loved it more. It was good. It was good. We had like sergeants and section commanders. We had like Eric Hammett. His nickname was the Hitman, because apparently in Devon, before he joined up, there was an incident and a magistrate and a shotgun. I don't know the full story, but his nickname was the Hitman. He was our he was our section commander. It's like it was, yeah. And Mortis was good because you got left alone. Yeah. But because it was this senior platoon and battalion, and it was like all the senior, like, we had Winnie Wincop. He'd like a 12-year Tom and stuff, mate. He was God. And we had like Cockney Barney, one of the Lance Jacks. It was like, and Mortis was good because we stuck together as a platoon. There's a bit, it was good. And then obviously, it all stopped. It all changed in 1994 when we got amalgamated.
So that must have been a bit rough for you, because you're losing your identity in that as well, aren't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like, because we amalgamated, it's like the Gloucesters and the Duke of Edinburgh went to form Royal Gloucester, Berkshire and Wiltshire Regiment, and it was like chalk and cheese. It was like, because it's a Royal Green Belt Warriors, because the Duke of Edinburgh, don't get me wrong, there were some good guys, but fuck me, some of their NCOs were shocking. And they were just bullshitty, like green belts and iron kit and that. Gloucester's, it was like, I can remember belts are for ammunition pouches, but it was like we got amalgamated. It was just like chalk and cheese. But luckily, the only good thing about the amalgamation, support company being support company, we gelled quite quickly, and then we went to Bosnia as UNPAFOR, which was
the first tour of Bosnia, was it?
Yeah, well, no, I think we took over from the Duke of Wellingtons. The Cheshires have been there as well, but yeah, we went. We did a winter tour in 1994, and it was like, yeah, it was Bosnia was a bit of a major culture shock to all of us.
I think it was for everybody that went there. I went there in 95. It was the first tour I did over there. And again, I say it a lot on this podcast and mention it a lot. It's probably the place that affected me the most out of my career. You know, 2 Gulf Wars and
you still there, mate?
Optelic and everything like that. Yeah. It was all. It was a different type of tour. It was like you say, it was an eye opener. I mean, what was your experience?
I was a signal. I was a driver radio operator, so I was quite lucky because we had a company in Begonia, and then we had 2 companies in Garajda cut off, and then we had battalion echelon in Kishak and battalion main in Saudi Arabia. So I was in Kishak, but I spent most of my time in my FFR going backwards and forwards to Garajda as a convoy leader's driver radio operator. So, you know, compared to some of the lads, I had it quite easy because I had a nice warm FFR. Some of the guys were living in trenches and I Esco basking. You know, it was tough. And then because we lost 4 guys over there. Two good friends of mine we had 2 wagons roll. It was bad because the Saxons were not designed for Bosnian Mountains. Trust me, it was a big cover up. So we had 2 wagons go rolled, and, you know, 4 guys got killed and some guys got really, really badly injured. And one of the wagons was one of the mortar wagons, and it's like, I lost there's, you know, Benetton got killed, and another good friend of mine, Bones Armstrong, we went to cadets together. It was bad. And then another good friend of mine, Freddie Starr, he got hurt pretty badly. It was just it concentrated the mind wonderfully. But, you know, the main thing was the guys that got hurt. And we went back in 2012 to do the memorials and that. And for me, Rev Grant, one of the guys that got really badly injured, for him to walk down the hill and walk back up with it was what it was all about, because he'd been suffering for years. And another one of the guys, Mick Stacey, you know what I mean? He was one of our mortar section commanders. He'd been suffering for it for years. So Bosnia, Bosnia was, for us, it was craziness, and it was just, and you know, what annoyed me about Bosnia is they were all as bad as each other. You know what I mean? At least the Serbs will tell you to the face. The Muslims of the BHA, they were playing both ends against each other. The Croats were the worst of a lot of them. I mean, I can remember there's a chat point at Rogatica on the way to Garajda, and the guy, his nickname was Buzzsaw. He's some 50-year-old bloke, and he used to put the Muslims through the sawmill to save ammunition. Evil people. I mean, he had a knife to be thrown one day, and I just thought, mate, it was just horrible. It was just, you know. And then I can remember me and Steve Bates on the side of the road when it all went wrong one day, when they brought all the bodies out and stuff. It was horrible, but it was just, you know. And the UN, the UN stands for useless. The only good thing is they call us shoot back, because at least the Brits would never go back. You know what I mean? Whereas the rest of some of the UN forces were useless. The Malaysians, I felt sorry for them. Some of them had never seen snow before.
Yeah, I mean the thing was with the UN, you were ineffectual. You couldn't really fucking do anything, you know, unless you were under attack yourself. You know, it was just it was almost, I wouldn't say pointless. Because there was lots of humanitarian stuff that was, you know, that was done as well, and we did protect people. You know, we did do that. We did protect people.
I just find they're all as bad as each other. and he was like, we took casualties, and it was just a lot of it. There's some office politics going on as well, and there's a bit of the G wing and D wing with the amalgamation. And the CEO was a snob. He just ring his little bell. You go and see. You give me a little bell, and that was your excuse to go out of the office and stuff like that. It was just, I've got to admit, mate, I've done my toy, and I was very lucky compared to some of the lads because at least I was mobile. It was still bloody freezing, and we had a couple of things that gone wrong, but it was one of them.
So what happened after Bosnia then?
Yeah, Bosnia. I was mortars then, and then went to Cyprus for 2 years, which was it was because the Green Jackets had the drama before about 6 weeks before we went with the old Danish tour guide. It was like. We were just, it was hard because we were in demand as well. We went straight to Bosnia. We went to Cyprus for 2 years on a sunshine posting. We had a platoon at Troodos, a company on escapade duties, and we used to stag on for the RAF at Akachiri. So, I can remember doing Christmas. I can remember I'd done 2 Christmases on duty. One was in Akachiri and one was at Mount Troodos, stagging on a golf ball. It was like, it could have been a good 2 years, but it wasn't because we're permanently on duty.
That's the last thing you want when you're being told you got to Cyprus,
Yeah, it's like I remember doing Christmas. We had to do Akachiri duty because they pulled the RAF regiment out, and for some reason the RAF didn't do duty. So I remember being staggered on the front gate of RAF Akachiri Christmas Day, 1996, thinking this is supposed to be a sunshine posting. The only good thing about Cyprus, I've come back to UK a couple of times on Satisfied Soldier, and we've done. Company went down to Falklands, done exercise in Egypt, and we went to Kuwait on exercise twice, which I thought was pretty good. But it was just Cyprus. It was just it was one of them. But and then we came back, and then we went back air mobile, went to Colchester, and then we done South Armagh from Colchester.
Satisfied soldier. I never did that because I was probably never satisfied soldier. Well, how did you find that? And
I thought it was brilliant because our platoon from Mortars, Fluff Jaw, he's just been promoted to sergeant. He was in Bristol recruiting office, so I had a week. I had a really good. I had 2 weeks leave, mate, and a week. I had a week's leave and a week on Satisfied Soldier. All I'd done was sat in the recruiting office, being the people who wanted to join the RGBW. I thought it was brilliant.
I know you used to send our lot round, the old Cape Tulip and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And they did
that as well.
They do that for like a month at a time.
We did. We done a Cape tour from Colchester to Bristol on a Saturday. So we sat up in board meeting in the middle of Bristol. We had support companies. We had a pins go. We had a mortar set up. We had a Fox as well. A wheeled APC and stuff for the cutting the recce lads and that. And then in the end, blokes they just chinned it off and went on the piss. It was brilliant.
And that's the way to do it.
Yeah. So it was good. And then from Collie we done South Armagh for 6 months. I was at 4 kill, which was even a catalytic us. But I caught South Armagh was good because we had a support company multiple. We had a mixture of anti-tanks and company headquarters. It was like attached to one of the rifle companies, and we had a really good. Nick Shannon was platoon commander. We had Tom Guest and Jono and Reg Lance. We had some really good NCOs. And we had a good bunch of lads. So South Armagh was one of them tours. It was like done Tamarind Towers, then it was all rural. And all I'm going to say, if fences and things get accidentally knocked over and destroyed, then they can't be laying IEDs.
Yeah. South Armagh's an interesting place. Beautiful, I'll say that.
Yeah, we were quite lucky. We were quite lucky because we done a summer tour. But I was chat man. So the paddies didn't understand Bristolian, mate. So it was one of them.
Like speaking French to them.
Yeah, but we lost a guy out there. Gary Fenton unfortunately got one of the B company NCOs got killed out there by fuel smugglers, and that got covered up because of the peace process and stuff. He got ran over. Yeah, it's bad. I felt sorry for the guys in his multiple. Yeah,
there's the peace process we've got. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad it is peaceful over there now. With the last tour I did, we lost Stevie Restrick to Stevie.
We were there for that because I was at 4 kill the day that happened. We were on Romeo 2-1 and seeing the Irish Army trying to seal the border and to intercept them. But that was that. We were the Armagh Rolling Battalion for that RGBW. So we were there for unfortunately when Lance Bombardier Restrick got killed. Yeah, we were involved in some of the operations too. When the rat drop got killed. Cool.
Yeah. It was a shit time for our regiment, obviously, and he's fondly remembered. He always is. But then the peace process kicking in, and the way it happened, and them allowing his murderer only did less than 8 months, and he was released.
120. And Jed's story and the guys that engaged the target, they try to sue them. You know what I mean? because they put rounds into him. It was not good. But then I'll tell you another story about South Armagh. So they got all the naughty, but so Besbrook, it's like we were a support company, but our multiple was awake, so we had the rest of the support company at Besbrook, and they had some brief from some of the old politicians coming to speak to the troops, but they just talk bollocks. So the whole support company sat around. Then I remember Fluff Joe. This is a story I was told. I wasn't there. This is a story I was told. Has anybody got any questions for the Northern Ireland and the secretary? And then Fluff Joe goes, "Yeah, he goes, is it true that Mo Mona's going to be the next Northern Ireland supermodel?"
I was never going to happen. So after Armagh, we're back to where we stationed.
Collie. Then I've done 2 years Army Youth Team. That's the regimental recruiting team in Chepstow, which was good 2 years away. That was interesting. Some of the stuff we had to do, like the St Paul's Carnival. It's like, mate, I was trying to explain to the TA colonel in Bristol. In St Paul's, is like in Bristol. Yeah, there's either the gangbangers or the crusties. They don't particularly like the army. And I felt sorry for the guys from the recruitment. If they got red paint thrown at them, I could have told them that was going to happen on day one. You know, all the local hoods were doing street marshalling and stuff. But yeah, I had a good 2 years away, and I rejoined battalion then in Ballykindler, 2 years Northern Ireland tour, with drum crew and everything, which was it was good to be back, and yeah, it was all right.
I mean, doing a 2-year tour in Northern Ireland is probably very different to doing, the 6 month tours.
It was good because you do 6 weeks on and 2 weeks back in UK. You fly to Bristol. I fly to Bristol from Belfast. 2 weeks leave. I was single and stuff. Then senior bloke. It was good. Yeah, it was good. And
I never realised that happened actually.
Yeah, you do that because we were permanently deployed. You always had a company in South Armagh. There was always something on. Then you had drum crew and stuff. You were always quite busy. And then plus we went to Belize. We went to Belize from there as well, which was brilliant.
That's one place I've always wanted to go and never got to go. There was Belize and Hong Kong. Never got to go either.
Well, I do go over in Hong Kong, but Belize, because I missed the Gloucester 6 months tour, and a company went from Northern Ireland with mortars attached. The mortar platoon got attached, and I got to admit, to be honest with you, it was probably the best overseas exercise I've ever done in my army career because all the right people went, if you know what I mean. And we had Eddie and Gary in charge of us. We had Crazy Ray from the Paras, and it was all decent blokes went on from the platoon and stuff. We had some Royal Irish guys attached to us. Done jungle school, done the live firing. Went to Cancun on the piss. It was absolutely brilliant. And looking back now, for us. I look back on Belize now. It was the end of the old. It was the end of the old army with Northern Ireland and that. It was the new army because we were supposed to fly back on September the 11th, and it all. And then I remember Darryl Musto, the A Company colourman, came out and said, guys, we're going back to airport camp. America done a terrorist attack. And I'll never forget Darryl Musto. He always looked up to him, top squad. And Darryl Musto, he looked us all in the eyes. He goes, guys, what you're seeing now with the Twin Towers and everything, he goes, what you're seeing now is going to affect whatever happens in the rest of your army careers. And never a truer word said. You know what I mean? It was because two guys from platoon on later tours, Pete Craddock, today he got killed. He got killed on the first Afghan tour. And Danny Dogshit, he got killed on our second Afghan tour. And so I'm looking back. We're looking back now, thinking all the right, and it was two guys from platoon of 20 died in Afghan, and it was just it was the end of the era for us a little bit because it is when the army got a little bit more serious. Obviously with Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. I think it's one of them things where everyone will remember, especially if they're in the military. Everyone will remember where they were when they seen it happen. I was just going back into work, and when I was on a 2-year post at Larkhill, and I was just going back into work, and somebody says someone's bombed New York, and I was like, "What the fuck are you on about?" And went into the office and they had it on the news, and we just stood round like staring at it, and looking around, like, what the fuck? And you knew things weren't going to be the same, and it didn't take for it to happen, really. So, I mean, what was your first Afghan tour?
We did RGW. Went from Chester in. I've been in Iraq. I volunteered to go to Iraq because JSOP. I was getting married, so I need to get some money together for a deposit for a house. So I've done 6 months. I've done 6 months Iraq with JSOP, Joint Support Unit Basel. I was running convoys in soft skin Land Rovers and all that. And then I went back to battalion in Chester. The battalion moved to Chester, and then we done a Kabul Patrols Company, and then we had 2 companies up in Mezasuri. I was lucky. I was attached to the Yanks. I took it from a Gurkha call sign because I was current. I had 2 wagons and 5 or 6 blokes, and we were PSD Delta, which is basically we've done DIAG, which is disarmament with Leland groups. Basically, you're a glorified taxi service for a mixed bag of. I was embedded with the US Marines. I had a good 6 months as a lance corporal. The Yanks couldn't believe that I was a team commander, and and our boss was Lieutenant Colonel David Milo from the Fusiliers, and I was lucky because I was away from battalion. I cut my own detail, living on a Yank camp. We'd done some good stuff at the Panjshir Valley and stuff. It was good, but then it wasn't.
So, I mean,
good.
that's very different to being on a. I was going to say that living on a Yank camp did they have all the mod cons that we did?
Yeah, it was weird. We had. I was originally transport to Kabul. Then the queue gives right, Clary gives and gives a safe pair of hands. You've got a couple of guys. I'm going to take them from a Gurkha call sign. I had an MT driver and I had a couple of guys from A Company and some odds and sods, and it worked. It was good because the Americans look after their blokes, and because let's just say the Americans are dry on tour, and because my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife's Filipino, and they used to have a Philippine supermarket that sold alcohol at the airport, and because I could speak Tagalog, it was like, this is what I'm going to say to you. It's like they never discovered who the bloke in the American camp was that used to supply beer and spirits, but I think we had a pretty good idea who it was. So yeah, it was good. And we done some good stuff at the Panjshir Valley with where Masood and his boys from them. And Kabul was craziness. And we had the company had a suicide bomber. It was different for me because I was away from battalion. I cut my own detail to a certain degree, but our boss, Colonel Milo, his claim to fame, he was the first bloke across the start line in the first Gulf War with the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. So we done a couple of jobs and some stuff with the US Marine MARSOC and stuff. It was good. It wasn't very punchy, but it was just different because we were dealing with the locals and stuff. But unfortunately, we lost one of the call signs got ambushed in Mezzarif and a lot, yeah. We took casualties. It was like, yeah, it was just not good. One of the guys, a friend of mine got killed. Another guy, Ben Stiley, got hurt really bad. It was just a little bit. Obviously, he was Afghan, and then from our platoon, I was already back in UK. One of the last patrols, we had another incident. And Pete Craddock, he was Tidhead. He was one of the guys from our platoon. I think he got killed on the last patrol. It was horrible. It wasn't good. And obviously Shirley got killed up in Mezza Sharif. So yeah, it was bad. And it was and I'm not it was even worse for the guys there, like Odgie and the guys that were with him. And when we come back to UK, we had to do the funeral and stuff. And I had to do the usually for Tinhead in front of the old battalion. When we buried him in Newbury, the whole battalion went down. And I think that was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my army career. I'd stand up and speak a bit in front of the battalion. But yeah, it was one of them. It was it was Afghan.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hit you till afterwards, does it? Really?
No, and yeah, it was. It is what it was, and but it was just unfortunate that Shirley got killed from recce, and then Pete Craddock Tinner got killed on the last patrol. It was devastating for the platoon. A couple of guys never got over it.
Yeah. Which like I said, it affects people in different ways much later on. You don't have time to think of it at the time, which down at your training as well, stuff like that. Where it's when you start thinking later.
Yeah,
so I mean, going back to Iraq.
Yeah,
we just glossed over Iraq. What was that tour like? Because that was like your first Middle Eastern tour.
Yeah, it was. We were just it was bizarre. We used to work with the RAF Police Tactical Supply Wing, and basically our job was our free soft skin Land Rover. We had a mixed bag of there was a mixed infantry and engineer bags, thrown together troops, and it was like you're escorting fuel tankers in free soft skin Land Rover. It ended up being a multiple 2IC and the medic. It was like mental. It was like, because you think if they're going to blow up one of the tankers, you're all going to get it anyway. And it's because we're attached to a signal squadron. It was like it was just like it was just a bit crazy. It was a craziness. And the Iraqi drive, but it's like RTCs, and then it was the Americans, because some of the American convoys. We had a bad day one day because Americans got contacted in front of us, and we would have. And their tail end vehicle got hit, and so we didn't know nothing about it. We heard it, but it was miles away. As we drove around the corner, there's carnage. I rolled over a Humvee, and it was. I was under pressure that day as the medic, because there was 3 American casualties. 2, we kept one alive, got him on the chopper, and the other 2 died. And don't forget, I've got one of the blokes driving one of the Land Rovers is a young 18-year-old Sidler. I've got another young kiddie from the artillery that going green at the gills and stuff, and it's not their fault. They weren't prepared for it. They weren't prepared for welcome to modern war, guys. You know what I mean? But the main thing, I just kept them busy. I done what I had to do. I done my bit. The only good thing is the guy we kept with. We got one of the guys on the chopper. But the funniest thing was, well, it was not funny, but when the American QRF turned up, they went to pieces. So I had to grab hold of this American lieutenant. I said, look, mate, I said, you need to calm down, mate. I said, you're scaring my lads. Right, this is what you need to do. Right, go and collect all the weapons and the ammunition and that, because we're going to deny the vehicle and stuff. And it was one of them. It was a crazy day in Iraq.
Yeah. I mean, I've never worked with the Yanks, really, to be honest.
Yeah. Because the Yanks in Iraq were just strange. There's National Guard and mixed bag. But I've got to admit, when I was in for 6 months in Kabul, I was with the US Marines, top fellas, the best. And they go out of the way because our nickname was the Borrowers or the Flintstones. Because I was always strange and kit off them. This is the British Army mentality. So we've got A Company in Kabul, company commander, top fella, Charlie McConaughey, all the boys, like, got some mates there. It's a good company. With the patrols and stuff, they couldn't get with the rations and stuff because we were under resourced. It was when the guys are going on a 12-hour patrol. Now, you can't give them a 24-hour box because it's all money and stuff. So I went and seen the Yanks. I went and seen Tex, like this big American bloke. Like, I used to get him bottles of Jack Daniels, and I said to him, I said, look, Tex, I said, look, mate, I said, the company in Kabul, mate, I said, can you get? I'm looking to get a couple of hundred MREs, just so the blokes in Kabul, the patrol A company's got, so they can put them in their day sats and that. Typical Yanks. He goes, I really like that smock you got on there, Claire. So I said, oh, let me go and speak to Droz in the stores. We get your cut of smock sorted out. So I swapped the Yanks. I got some Yanks, some of our windproof smocks. They like it. And then we had to get a 4-tonner and 2 snatched Land Rovers because the Yanks resupplied our company in Kabul with like 1,000 MREs. Because that was the Americans' fear.
I'm not keen on the Americans' MREs, to be honest. We went out in Optelic in 2003. Our rations hadn't turned up, so we had to get them off the Americans.
Yeah.
And that's all we had for, mind you saying that. Just after that, we ended up with a 10-man rack pack that was just all Lancashire hot pot, and that's all we had to eat.
Yeah,
fucking awful, that stuff.
But then on my second, so I digress. On my second tour, so I was posted then. I went to Warminster for a year with the Div Colonel, and then I went to Shoes Recruiting Office and the Rifle Support Team recruiting, and then I got promoted and went back to battalion. Went straight out to, and then battalion we're gearing up to go to Afghan again, now Herrick 9, and I was with a fire support with the WMIX, so we were CSS Omelette, so we were bolted onto the Afghans, running the Afghan supply convoys, but then we ended up as a fighting call sign as well, and it was that was a punchy tour. It was I made some schoolboy errors then, and our boss was Ellie. We had an engineer major, Steve White, Fight Club, because he's always fighting with people, and Roy Jones, best. Ellie used to be I think it was the RQ of the Green Jackets. He got promoted as a captain. He was our boss, so you had to be on top of your game, and it was, I think, soldiering point of view and with the lads, it was I think one of the best tours I'd done, because we've done a few things, and I learned a lot about soldiering and getting your stuff together. I'll go a prime example of like being caught out on tour. They give us a new all the shimulis and stuff on the front of the WMIX. So we got into this. We got into a minor tick, and we had to get some white light into the waddy because it's dark. Yeah, and I'm not. I know. So can I get some white light up? So I get the old the shimuli thing up. And boom, nothing happens. I thought, this is shit. It's got to be a misfire. Next thing, boom, another one in a misfire. Next thing you know, everyone's like, there's a massive smoke screen. So instead of firing like shimuli, I fired shimuli smoke. So I wiped it all out in there. And then in that Naddy Alley was like the Wild West. We had a 2-1 call sign attached to us, and we had Recce went down the middle, sniper. So I think it was fire support coming down the centre, Recce on the right, CSS on that was us 2-1, and the Afghans on the left hand side because they didn't think we were going to get into anything. And then we bumped into the main body of the Taliban. It was like it was a week of medieval total war. It was like loads of rounds got fired, and it was a baptism of fire.
So what was that? How did that feel? How did that actually make you feel when that happened?
The first time I shit myself, I ain't gonna lie to you. And then after that, we just stayed together and just because we originally went on foot, so it was like even between 11 and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was an unofficial ceasefire because everyone was knackered. It was certainly an eye opener, the compounds and stuff. And then we had a pretty serious contact on one of the roofs, and Andy Wilson got He got some frag on the side of his head, and it was like took his earlobe out, and loads of blood. It looked worse than what it was. I learned a lot about basic soldiering, and it was like look after the basics. Like you at night when it all calmed down, you clean your weapons, you make sure you sort the wagons out. You do your sentry, you stag on, and then we'd fire the 51 millimeter at 3 o'clock in the morning just to keep the Afghans awake and stuff like that. It was I learned about the real heroes were the guys that I learned a lot about myself, and it's like soldiering and stuff as well. You got to keep your stuff together, and you had to just grow up a little bit because it was real. People were getting hurt.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned early rifles. Had you gone into the rifles then?
Yeah. So sorry, I digress. When I rejoined battalion in 2000, because rifles formed in I think it was 2002, just after Christmas 2008. I was posted, so I was rifles recruiting team. Then I went to Shrewsbury, and then I went back to one rifle. That was my parent unit. I got promoted, and it was then one rifle. So it was a mixed bag of I think it was 40% RGW, 50% D&D, and 10% green jackets. But because I worked with the green jackets in London, and I was all right with it all. It was because I've been through amalgamation before. It's just played the game, innit? But yeah, that was me. That was one rifles to the end of my career.
So I mean, the rifles, the fucking hell, they had it rough in Afghan. Not just
not just one rifle. Every battalion. It's like two rifles, and that it was horrendous. We lost a lot of guys got serious with us as well. What people didn't see was the guys getting injured and stuff. The limbless veterans and stuff, and it was for us. It was a hard tour because I lost some good friends out there. Danny Neal would have been one of my best mates. He got killed, and I can remember doing the repat for Danny. His nickname was Danny Dogshit because when he first joined the RGBW, we were in Bosnia, and Eric the sergeant he goes, "Where are you from, Neil?" He goes, "I'm from Cheltenham, Sarge," and he goes, "You're common as Dogshit." So that was his nickname, Danny Dogshit. He got killed he got killed in Afghan, and I remember doing the repat. It's because people took it bad from the platoon, so we had to do the drill and stuff, and it was bad. And then I was stood opposite a guy called Uppers, another good fella. So I said to Uppers, "Look, we'll see you. I'll see you in a couple of weeks when we went for the gunshots when we put into Masakala." And that was another. It was a bad. And then it was. I can remember hearing on a net, troops in contact. Something had gone on, and I knew something was up. Because we pulled in, the three women pulled into the DC, and Moggy, the guy I was in training with Moggy from anti-tanks, and the OC was stood there waiting for us by the loading bay. And I said, "Look, can Captain Jones, Clarence, could you just come to the ops room? We need to speak to you." So I went to the ops room, and I knew something bad had happened. And then they said, "Look, sorry to say this, but Uppers has been killed." And I thought it was his brother. He goes, "No, Paul," because there was two brothers, and it was a guy that I'd done. Buried another lad with 2 weeks before. I couldn't believe it. And I can remember Roy Jones looked at me straight and I goes, "Clary," he goes, "I know you're your mate because I need you on your game because we're going straight back out." And it was bad. It was even worse for the guys, a couple of guys that got hurt. A good friend of mine got hurt, Norm Bates, in the same contact. So it was just constant. It was just like thinking, shit, you know what I mean? It's not good.
The amount of injuries and death and mayhem that fucking Afghan caused,
Yeah. But I'll tell you
was it all worth?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. The one rifles did get right, and they did get this right was that they got the rehab thing in the gym. We had a really good Gareth from the core bloke top fella. They had the physio from the Gwent Dragons, so he done all the rehab for the guys and stuff, which was good. You know what I mean? And we did look after the guys that got injured.
I mean, the rifles have got a really good association.
It's a good brand. Yeah, I still do it now. I do. As a guy was at Warminster with Lieutenant Colonel Baz Miller, we do a thing called now once a rifle, always a rifleman. So I'm doing a Tough Mudder in August with Baz and the boys again, and we've got a rifles hotline. So if any riflemen have got in a bit of bother, they need someone to talk to. They go once a rifleman, always a rifleman. That's why one of the reasons I written my book and done my poems and that because it supports the rifleman. So yeah,
we'll move on to that later on about the books and poems and stuff. So I mean, after Afghan, back to normal life.
Chepstow. Back to Chepstow. I was married on a company then, so I was back up to Chester every weekend. And then I'm trying to think. And then our last Afghan tour, 2011, I was CO's TAC. So and that was for me. I was supposed to be at the army in 2012, but done the last Afghan tour. I was CO's TAC, so it was so we're the three Huskies, but. It was quite a punchy tour. And then I think the worst thing for me was Kev Fortuna got killed. Me and Kev started off together. I was at usher at his wedding and that. And I'll never forget it till the day I die. We got crashed out at late stupid o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go down to PB3 because there's been an IED strike. And so CO's TAC walked up and the CO didn't tell us who had been killed. Ringer the medic knew, but he could because Ringer's looking at me and I'm thinking like, I know he's looking at me and I'm thinking like, this is bad. So we went and sorted it all out, and then they'd already took Kev's body away on the choppers and stuff. But I felt sorry for the two Valen men, because what it was a legacy IED. So the two front guy on the Valens, the two young lads missed it because it was in wood and stuff, and they were just killing themselves with guilt and stuff. And I said, look, mate, it wasn't your fault, lads, because I was like the senior 4th Gun Battalion. It was bad, and it was like, and that finished me in the army. I know it sounds quite a bit weird. It was just when Kev got killed, something inside me, I was like, I'm glad now that I'm leaving, because I'd had enough then, you know what I mean? And a lot of guys have done a lot more than I had. There's some, Hayley Ridgway, the medic, she got mentioned in Dispatch. She'd done really well, and but for me, it was when Kev got killed. That was something inside me. That was it. I was glad I was leaving the army after that.
Yeah, I mean, I got out in 2012 after I did 27 years.
Yeah, and another thing as well is like a lot of guys were suffering as well. We had, after the tours and that, there was a lot of guys with issues and stuff. But then I'll give it to Rachel Webster, the RAWO. She was fantastic on the last tour, making sure the blokes got looked after and stuff. And even when the guys used to go into Bastion and that, there was pizzas and stuff like that. She's done really well. She went above and beyond to look after the boys. And she came and spoke to me when after we had to go do Kev's repat and stuff. You know what I mean? It was like, the blokes stuck together. This was what you joined the army for. It was just for me. It was one of them. Colonel Sergeant Kev Fortuna kind of got killed, and it was the last. I lost quite a few friends over the years, and I think it was the final one that done me. I just thought, I can't keep doing this.
So what did you? I mean, that was your full term anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I was offered Veng. So I was out. I got back. I was supposed to go to Shrewsbury recruiting officer last year. And I was offered another 2 years, which I took because I wanted to get myself sorted out for Civvy Street. We'd done Kenya, we'd done the fire strikes and that. I'd done the admin for a couple of the NCO's cards, and that was driver training wing and all that. It was and to be honest with you, I needed that time to sort myself out and get myself ready for the off. And to be honest with you, it was when I left the regiment, it was like I got looked after, so I went back and I didn't really de-kit and went back and sort of. It was a big non for me. Leaving the army was a bit of a non-event because I was married and accompanied. I remember my last day in the army. I had a brew with my mate Bones, a company sergeant major. I went one of the Fijians' houses for some scoff and stuff. And to be honest, when I left the army, I just got in my car and drove out of camp and went back up to Chester.
Yeah, that was kind of similar to what I did. I moved off camp.
Yeah.
We moved into our house really. Went back one day, had my ID card in, drove out of camp and just watched it in the rear view mirror as the gate got smaller and smaller and just thought, what the hell? What happened?
Yeah, see, I'm a great believer.
Where's that time gone?
Yeah, I'm not one of these I'm not one of these Reggie blokes who goes to everything. I'm a great believer. I kept in touch with who I want to keep in touch with. My friendship group's quite small, about 5 guys on one hand, but there's some good lads. People I say if I see them in a pub, I say hello to. But I kept my core friends, my core mates, and we still and that was it. But to be honest with you, I just wanted to go. I'd had enough of driving down to Chepstow from Chester every weekend and stuff. And I got no regrets. I'll never knock it. Pension comes in handy. But for me, I think a lot of people, sometimes you're just glad to go at the end, aren't you? You've just had enough.
Yeah. So what did you have planned for when you left?
I was lucky because a guy I knew from the Army Air Corps, he got me in an Airbus doing the part of the fire and security setup. I didn't do the fire. I just done security at Airbus. It was like, it was just, it wasn't difficult. And it was just, I wasn't after big buck. I wasn't looking to get on a circuit or do another career or anything. But then, it was just a muck job. It was just go in and do what I got. I've changed jobs now, but I was just doing security and ops room. Airbus, what they make the old beluga, make the wings and stuff. 10-minute commute to work. It wasn't difficult, but it was just Civvy Street for you. And then it was like talking to a few people. They were like, "Hey, Clary goes, you ought to write a book, Clary goes, because you're a bit of character and you've had a laugh with the Fijians and stuff, and you're in the mortar platoon for going on a piss, and there was some characters. Like we had some really good nicknames in the platoon. And it was like thinking, we make me best mate in New Zealand, Nobbo goes, yeah, goes, you write a book, Clary goes. And then so I thought, I was semi-involved in doing stuff for some of the casualties and Rifles Care for casualties and that. So I thought, I'll write a book, and I think I made about £500 off it because it's all on Amazon and stuff. And it went to Belesma, and then it goes to the Rifleman Project now. So it gives people a bit of a laugh because the way I've done it with my book is nothing about the war-y stuff. People don't want to hear that. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't a company hero. I wasn't throwing hand grenades or first man on a balcony. I've done my bit. Don't get me wrong, but my book's all about the funny stuff, like when one of the blokes fell in love with a lady at night from Belize, and Eric blew himself up in Bosnia and things like that. It was like, it's all the funny stuff, you know what I mean? You know what lads are like on the piss and stuff, and R&R in Canada and stuff, and Yeah, that's why I done it. So it's all about the funny stuff.
So what's the book called?
Hang about, let me just bear with me a sec. Yeah, that's the book. It's on Amazon, and the book is called "You're Not Going to Believe This, Lads." But what happened was a soldier story, a soldier story, and journey through banter and buffoonery. And there's me stood in a rack, and the front cover says it all. There's me, the boss, he's with a contractor's ex-paralad, me with a Jimpy, and there's the lion on the back of the truck, which we drove all the way into Kuwait with. On the back of the truck was a lion. So yeah,
I think, you know what, I think it's an excellent title for a book. That it really is. And when this goes out, I'll put the links to it on the show notes.
And I don't make any money of it. I just do a donation to either Blesmo or the Once a Rifleman. Always a rifleman. And some of the lads who got back to me, some of the guys who got hurt, and they were saying it just gives people a laugh, and it just gives people. It's like the army's changed now, because I think the best way is explained to me when I joined the army, it was a cult. Is the platoon was, if you were a single guy in mortars, you didn't go on the weekend. You went on a piss with a platoon, because that was your whole life. So it was a cult. Then in the late 90s and 2000s, it became a bit more of a club and that, and people were, taking things a bit more seriously, obviously, with everything happening. And then as I left, I saw the changes. It became a corporation, and because the rifles is a big organisation, which is as good things and bad things. But in the Gloucester and RGBW, you say what you should with the same blokes for 22 years, whereas the rifles now, they move people around, which is either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your point of view. So there's not that much. There's some gelling, don't get me wrong, but it's not as gelled as it used to be with the Gloucester and the RGBW.
I didn't realise people moved between the rifle battalions. I
know.
The lads I know from years back, they always said they'd join the Green Jackets, they'd join two Queens or wherever, and they'd stay with the battalion forever.
Yeah. So So when because on amalgamation, it was like I think when they found the rifle, they were quite crafty with the RGBW. Is they got rid of all the characters, all the people that would take the piss. So there's the mortar platoon went to 4 rifles en masse. There's quite a few of us posted. Me and Johnny Green got posted to Warminster. There was quite a few people that got posted and stuff, and it was just I don't know. It's, I think don't get a rifle. The rifle is a good organisation. It's a good brand, and you've got to change with the times. So I think it's good if you want to get promoted. You might have to go to one rifle. You might have to go to 3 rifles or 4 rifles. But but you train a little bit of the gelling, but it works. And and I'm out of the army now, and and I was proud to be 1 rifle.
So about the poetry. Do you want to talk to us about your poetry?
Yeah, I did. It was a couple of things. I'd done me writing, and then because I used to make up little rhymes and stuff, and so I started writing a few poems, and I do it on my LinkedIn page. And to be honest with you, I'd done one. I had to do one. A good friend of mine, Bremy Birmingham, his dad passed away, so he asked me to do a poem for the funeral for his dad, Big John. So I've done that. So yeah, I didn't consider myself an expert or anything like that, but I just put a few poems together. It's on LinkedIn and stuff. It's in the back of the book and stuff. Yeah. So and a couple of people asked me to do poems for a few funerals and wedding and stuff, and the best man speech. So yeah, so I've got into it a little bit, and yeah. So yeah.
So was that? Have you always been that way inclined, or is it since you left the military?
Since I left the army, because I was dyslexic as a kid, I always loved me books and me reading. I think writing a book was good. It took me about 3 years. I've written another book on short stories and poems. But then recently, in the last couple of years, I've got big into poetry and stuff. And it's just I've got into it. And if it helps people, I'm not trying to give it Billy Big Licks, because if it helps people, and some of the lads say they said that they get a lot from me poems and that, so if I'll keep doing them as long as it makes people happy, and especially for with the once a rifleman, always a rifleman, lean on me. If it can help some of the riflemen, and I write poems about some of the stuff that people don't want to talk about, like some of the lads suffering with PTSD and things like that. Let me have a look. I've got one in the back of here. My glasses. Hang about. I'm squinting because I ain't got my glasses on. Let's have a look. Should have bought the other book. Yeah, just bear me a second. Let me get my glasses. I can't see without. Yeah, so what I'll do is I put a poem up the other day. I'll just read it off to you. Let me go to LinkedIn. There we go. Let me get me a little. This is old age. This is only about 5 years since I start wearing glasses. All right, let me go. Happy days. Right, show or post. Yeah, so so can you hear me? Can you hear me fine? Can you? Sorry, just yeah. So I've done this. This is one I've done last week. So this is a poem I read when I was training for the Tough Mudder. So dedicated to all riflemen, veterans, and families of the fallen out there in the universe, getting the miles in training for Tough Mudder. Lean on me too. 15th of August, Badminton, Gloucester. So the poem, running Chester's ancient Roman walls this night. I run Chester's ancient Roman walls this night. The darkness hides me and covers me from sight. Alone, I disappear into the shadows deep, while others sleep, where echoes of the past and ghosts of legionaries meet. I embrace the solitude those legionnaires once knew. Beneath the moon, and this night's dark hue. The drizzle and the cold make my old knees complain. Yet I keep moving through the discomfort and pain. I run so others do not fall and disappear into nightfall. For I've answered the Tough Mudder call. Under moon and stars, my thoughts travel far. I carry old wounds and conceal my own scars. I am alive, unbroken beneath night's dark sky. My legs and thoughts carry me onward as I pass by. I'm thankful for the owl's lonely call, guiding me safely around Chester's ancient city walls. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow. You keep digging, Marcus Aurelius. And that was me. That was last week's poem I'd done, ready for the guys getting ready for the Tough Mudder and stuff.
That's like quite inspirational, really.
Yeah. So it's got. So Colonel Baz has put it on Facebook. LinkedIn and stuff, and it just gives hopefully gives people a lift ready for the Tough Mudder. And I think we've got about 100 guys doing it to raise some money for the for Lean On Me project, which is Leonie Case, because unfortunately her father got PTSD and passed away through veteran suicide. So that's why we do it. And the main thing is it supports the families and the people left behind. I'm a big fan of that.
I mean, what's your plans for the future then?
I work for the council now. I do disability needs. I'm quite, to be honest with you, my life ain't very good. I'm going through a divorce at the moment, and I've got a few other things happening in the pipeline. So let's just say I'm having a bit of bad luck at the moment. But for the future is I just need to get my divorce out of the way. I've got some family stuff going on as well, and then hopefully I'll write another book. Come the new year, I'll start my next book, and it'll be a book of poems and short stories.
Oh well, I wish you well with that. Yeah, sorry to hear that you're going through a bit of a bad time.
Compared to some of the lads, it's just it's okay, it's all right. And let's just say I was in work the other day, and I'm dealing with a guy with Alzheimer's, and I thought I ain't got problems. The guy had Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So I thought that's okay. And also I'm quite busy because I do this to make you laugh. So I'm in Waitrose about 8 years ago, and I'm not big into. I'm scruffy. I walk around I've got board shorts, flip flops, and a t-shirt on. So my mate Pete from the cavalry, he lost a leg in Afghanistan, so his nickname's Stumpy, and he volunteered us to go and do the Poppy Appeal in Waitrose. So we're in Waitrose doing the old Poppy Appeal. So I'm there with I put a suit on, a rifle's tie on, and my miniatures. And then an old soldier came up, got a chat away to us. He goes, I've lost my son. And then his son come and found him, and his son was a guy, Mike Lee, who runs the CCF for King's School Chester. So I do that now. I do that's quite a big part of my life. I do the CCF. I'm a plastic officer. I do CCF for King's School Chester and Malvern College. So I'm quite busy with that, and I do some work for the cadet training team as well. I enjoy.
That's good. You started off in the cadets.
Full circle. I get ripped by the lads in the regiment. Oh, bloody, people saluting me and stuff. It's only plastic anyway, but I quite enjoy doing the stuff with the kids and stuff. And you know what? From where I come from is I can remember when I was a scared 14-year-old kid that got bullied. I can remember Bristol ACF, the couple of guys, Dennis Buck and Steve Skull. They looked after me, and they mentored me. So if I can give something back to the kids, and we have a laugh, and I do my thing with the CCF is I do banter, I don't do bullying. So and when I say to them, I was bullied as a kid, they were like, "You were bullied, Mr. Hill?" I said, "Yeah," you know what I mean, but I quite enjoy what I do with the kids, and I get a lot out of it. And the cadet training team in the Northwest, it was like a regimental reunion with Pete and Brian from the Cheshires and Jed from the Fusiliers. They're all good guys, and I quite enjoy getting together with the lads on the weekends and stuff.
Well, that sounds brilliant. I mean, I've never had nothing to do with the cadets, really, to be honest.
It's not ACF, it's CCF, because it's a little bit different with the CCF because it's school based, so the teachers know the kids, and it makes life a lot easier if you're dealing with difficult kids. You've got dietary needs and you've got ADHD and that, but because the teachers know the kids, it makes my job a lot easier because you've got a steer. You know what I mean? I know when the kids I know when the kids gets stressed and stuff, and he's got to have 5 minutes now and again. That's brilliant. We can get around that. It's the same as we know the kid gets nervous, so on the range we'll do one-on-one with him just to make sure. And that kid's going to hit the target, and he's going to get a nice group because I've got the time to invest and do one-on-one with him.
Do you think more kids should join the cadets? And if so, how do we do that?
I suppose I don't know, because the ACF's a different beast, and there's some fantastic people in the ACF that are there for the kids. But then also you've got some people that are trying to relive their army career, or they didn't be in the army. They try and the ACF makes it up for them. But I don't know, because I'm CCF. It's a little bit different. It's through the school, and all our kids are volunteers, which makes life a lot easier.
Well, I wish you luck with that in the future.
Yeah, happy days.
Coming up to the end of the podcast. Again, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Uh,
hopefully it's gives someone a bit of a laugh. And as I said, if we can do a little bit for veterans with the once a rifleman, always a rifleman, and give people a laugh with me poems and me little one-liners, you know what I mean? Don't be shy. Your mother certainly wasn't. That's
yeah.
life, isn't it? And if you can laugh and smile for a while, it makes life all worthwhile, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there, especially in the veteran community, and sometimes it's the veterans causing that themselves.
And I'm very lucky because I've got quite a good support network up here, but I'm not big into it. It's not a crutch for me. But the way I look at it, especially when we're doing a tough mother for the wives and the family, that's what it's all about. And we can have a good day and give the kids a laugh and stuff, and that's what it's all about. And I'm a big fan of that.
I hope you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoyed recording it. If you could just hit the like button, and also if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell, that would be great, because it'll help the channel grow. The more people will see it, the bigger it'll get, and the more guests I can get on, and the more people I can talk to. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, like I said. Look forward to the next one. Hopefully it'll be out next week as normal. Bye-bye now.